Hi everyone, it's Steve, aka Zee Inquisition, over here at Nerds Delta with another Noobs review. This time I'm going to be talking about Alien vs. Predator: The Hunt Begins by Prodos Games, the second edition. Now, this game is basically what I would call a war game wrapped in the skin of a board game. It has a lot of the aspects of what we would traditionally see in a war game setting, but placed on a board and played with a lot of the same rules and restrictions that you would see in board games. So it's really a fun amalgamation. The game takes place on board a marine vessel that has been infested by the aliens, the xenomorphs, while the marines are in some kind of cryostasis. The predators have shown up, finding the ship completely infested with the xenomorphs. They've come on board to just kill everything that isn't a predator. So it leaves you with this very keen sense of urgency, whether you're playing as the Marines or the other races, to try to do everything that you can to keep your faction alive. And it really helps you connect with your army or your faction that you're playing as, regardless of which one. And the board game itself, system-wise, can be played 1 to 3 players. You could probably figure out ways to include more, but the fact that you could play it by yourself, I find utterly awesome. Much of the combat system, many people will recognize from war games like 40K, slightly tweaked of course, but if you've played games similar to that, you'll definitely be able to grasp it right off the bat. While movement, instead of like you would imagine in most war games where you would either move squares or you would move inches, you move whole tiles, and you can set up miniatures wherever you want on these tiles, which can turn into an advantageous thing. So you can block enemy movement, you can block enemy line of sight. There's some really synergetic things that really kind of take some nuance to get a hold of when you're playing this game. The board itself is really interesting because it is something that you can change around every time that you play the game, either by the way that they have it set up for one of the, I believe, 10 missions that they have, or you could set it up in any way that you could think of. You could even potentially buy multiples of these board game and put them together for a very large and in-depth battle on one of these ships. Now, one of the things that makes this game kind of stand out, at least to me, is the environment cards. The environment cards is a system that they've devised to help represent the fact that this ship has already been through quite a lot of damage, both in the fighting that could have already taken place or just the infestation itself. So you'll see things like lights going out, the gravity turning off, really any of the horrible things you can imagine happening to a ship in deep space. And it really adds this amazing element to the game where you can almost visualize what's going on. And that actually brings me to another pretty important part of this game, and that is the miniatures themselves. The quality of these miniatures is breathtaking. They are all monopose. It looks like they are either printed or casted on their bases, which for a lot of people who are coming from a miniature background, you're kind of going, oh. I personally like assembling things, like posing things and painting them, but these miniatures maintain such a cinematic beauty to them on the board when they've got some paint on them, as well as otherwise, though some of the color choices, having pink aliens might not be your favorite thing right out of the box. When you get a little paint on them like I have, they look absolutely stunning. The xenomorphs look like something that is literally crawling off of the screen and onto your board. And it really makes the game feel more alive. For people like me who have played the video games, we've read the comic books, we've seen the movies, from all the different franchises, then this game is really amazing. It allows your creativity and your imagination to kind of soar through the roof. And that, for me, is one of the things that makes a game really enjoyable. One of the things that makes this game a little bit harder for people who might not have a background in wargaming with games like 40K or Hordes or War Machine is the fact that a lot of the rules are borrowed from games like that. So if you're coming in here with just a board game background, you might be a little overwhelmed with the amount of rules or the sheer number of things that are accounted for. This can make it seem a little daunting for new players. That said, if you're either interested in or have ever played war games before, I think that you'll find that this game is right up your alley and almost fits perfectly into what you've already done in the past. Building lists is something that you can do in this game. You can add to the miniatures that come directly out of the box. Prodos makes a line of a whole bunch of different things to represent models from the factions from the movies, video games, and the comic books. It's pretty interesting when you can see the hellhounds from the movie Predators running around fighting a Predalien, or fighting facehuggers, or fighting Weyland-Yutani commandos, or fighting the power lifter, because who doesn't want to see the power lifter smack around an alien? And of course, our favorites are there. The Queen aliens, of course, include. So really, that adds a whole nother level to the game that isn't even something that base level players have to think about. So that part of the difficulty can be left out, and a lot of you who are coming in from a board game background don't even have to worry about it. The game itself comes with 10 pre-made missions, and each mission will have objectives for every faction, and all of these missions are set up essentially like a campaign. So you could play them one at a time, and it would unload an entire story that would let you see what has happened on this ship and how things are progressing for these Marines while they're waking up, as well as for the Predators who are still trying to figure out how they're going to destroy everything on this ship. And of course, our lovable xenomorphs who are just trying to figure out how they're going to survive and procreate. So this is something that I think is really awesome. It allows for a whole new level of immersion into a game system that most board game players are never going to have experienced before. Now, one thing I did not enjoy about this game, and it's something I did find a workaround for, but I do want to mention it, is that some of the rules are a little vague. Some of the things they don't do a very good job of explaining when you're supposed to do them, or what you're supposed to do in a given situation. But as I said, with talking with the people I was playing with or have played with, I've been able to find workarounds for every single one of these issues we've had. And I'm sure, absolutely sure, that as long as you're playing with people who you enjoy playing with and who will have a good time playing with you, you can find a similar set of rules which make it just as amicable for you guys to play and enjoy it. Overall, I'm going to give Alien vs. Predator: The Hunt Begins a 7 out of 10. I love it. I absolutely love it. I, though, am a fan of the franchise. I am a fan of war games. I am a fan of board games. So I really do fit into the perfect amalgamation of people who will like this. But that said, if you enjoy Alien vs. Predator, if you enjoy war games, or if you are a board game player who is just looking to get into something new, I thoroughly recommend this game. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen today to another Noob Reviews, this time of Alien vs. Predator: The Hunt Begins 2nd Edition by Prodos Games. If you're enjoying what we're doing here at Nerds Delta, please don't be shy, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment down below. If you look down in the description, you will find our information for multiple websites where you can find us and harass us, or even just look at memes that we're posting. But until the next time, this is Zee Inquisition signing out.